السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح فلا تسألني ما ليس لك به علم إني أعظك أن تكون من الجاهلين. صدق الله العظيم. Before we continue from where we left off yesterday, I just want to reiterate the message that was delivered after the Isha Salah regarding assistance for Masjid al-Islam in downtown Dallas. And as Brother Shaukat rightly said, we're not doing any favors on anybody. Rather, we're fulfilling our duty and our obligation towards our brothers who came before us, who are our predecessors, who established Islam in this land and who are indigenous to this country, and they don't struggle with the same problems that we struggle with. And what I mean by that right now is that immigrant Muslims or children that belong to immigrant Muslim families still struggle when it comes to Americanism or being an American Muslim. Whereas these are indigenous Muslims, this is their land, they were born and raised here, their ancestors came from Africa, they were brought here forcefully, and they maintain this country as their land. This is their country. 20 or 30% of the slaves that were forcefully brought here from Africa were Muslim. Many of them were forced to leave their religion. And the likes of people like Warithuddin Muhammad and of course the people that came out of that movement are credited with a lot of the Islam that we see today. And it's really important that we understand that they still form a significant portion of the Muslim community, but we're blind to it because we live in the nice suburbs, as it was mentioned. So we're blind to the struggles of the Muslims in the downtown areas. So I want to urge brothers and sisters, inshallah, donate generously towards Masjid al-Islam. It's our obligation and duty. Anyway, I was mentioning yesterday regarding the verse وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُم بِإِيمَانٍ أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَمَا أَلَتْنَاهُم مِّنْ عَمَلِهِمْ مِّنْ شَيْءٍ كُلُّ امْرِئٍ بِمَا كَسَبَ رَهِينٌ. Those who acquire faith and their children join them or follow them in that faith, Allah shall reunite them or join them together, and neither of them would be decreased in their a'mal or in their hasanat and their ujur and their rewards. And I was saying about leaving a legacy behind and what type of legacy we're leaving behind. Generally, when you ask somebody regarding someone who passed away, what did he leave behind? We'd say they left behind a healthy bank balance and assets and homes and land and many different tangible or material objects. But seldom do we point out their achievements in terms of religion and what benefit they rendered to society, and those benefits still being beneficial today, or good causes that are continuing to benefit people. Remember the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding all actions coming to an end when a person dies except for three things. One of them is sadaqah jariyah, one of them is a righteous child who shall pray for you. And if your child is not righteous, or if his actions are contrary to your actions, or his faith is not your faith, then he has no right to be your child, though he has biological ties to you. And that is why Allah reminds Nuh alayhi salam in Surah Hud, when Allah says to Nuh alayhi salam, when he's asking Allah, "Oh Allah, protect my son and forgive him," he says, "Oh Nuh, he's not your son." Subhanallah, imagine that. Somebody tells you, that's not your son. And he's your son. You love him to bits. Your child that you raised, that you spent your entire life, your adult life, working for, making effort for. And that son betrays you at that time or says, "No, I don't want to follow your footsteps." And then Allah Ta'ala telling you that that's not your son. Why? إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ, Allah says. His actions are not righteous. So he has no right to be called your son. He's not worthy of being your son. That's very scary, subhanallah. Can we say today that we're proud of our children in terms of their deen? Alhamdulillah, Many of us are proud about their educational achievements and how successful they have become. But how comfortable are we to present those children to Allah Ta'ala and say, this is what I have brought. This is my investment. Right? Of course, there is a burden of responsibility on children too, when they reach maturity, to use their conscience. But as adults and parents, what have we done? And how have we raised our children? This is a very important matter. And that's why it's important to learn how to be a parent. It's easy to become parents, but parenting is very different. This goes for all of us, because we're faced with so many challenges. We can be caretakers and providers, and we can also show love and compassion, but parenting is very difficult. It has to be learnt. None of us were born parents. We weren't born parents. We became parents with our first child. And we can't leave our own development. We become complacent in our own deen and in our own learning, in our own journeys. And then we don't transfer anything over to our children too. We're complacent with what we have. And it's important that we continue our own development, learning. That's why, alhamdulillah, we have adult classes here at IACC. We're very fortunate and blessed. Many of the brothers and sisters that come from different countries that migrated here didn't have these opportunities. Alhamdulillah, at your doorstep you have these opportunities to learn. So we have to learn deen so we can transfer that deen to others. Learn deen and understand it. Many a times we learned deen somewhere, but we had a different understanding of what deen was. So it's important to learn parenting, and Allah Ta'ala has given us a great template in Surah Al-Luqman. So significant is the story of Luqman alayhi salam and his advice to his son that Allah includes it in his final revelation. Imagine that. Allah includes it in his final revelation because they're extremely important lessons. He begins by telling his son with compassion, وَهُوَ يَعِذُهُ, O my son, do not commit shirk. Indeed, shirk is a grave injustice. So he's instilling tawheed in his son, which also means that you should rely on nobody but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not be needy of anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not show your need in front of anyone but Allah. So a type of independence as well he's teaching his son here. Then Allah Ta'ala interjects here and mentions the status of parents. Because from huququl ibad and the rights of Allah's servants, the parents are most worthy of righteous treatment. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And from our parents, the mother deserves the most. There's no doubt about that either. Because she's endured the most pain and difficulty. I mean, like, sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, my mum went through all this for me? Like, really? Am I even that worthy? My mother went through all of that pain and difficulty, sleepless nights, and even today, if you feel pain, she's going to feel pain. If you feel pain, your mother's going to feel pain. Because she's a mother, right? And nobody can replace the mother's love. No love can replace that. So Allah Ta'ala interjects here and mentions from huququl ibad, the highest level is the rights of parents. Then later we continue with the advice of Luqman alayhi salatu salam, where he says, يَا بُنَيَّ إِنَّهَا إِن تَكُ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ فَتَكُنْ فِي صَخْرَةٍ أَوْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ أَوْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَأْتِ بِهَا اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَطِيفٌ خَبِيرٌ. In this verse, Luqman alayhi salam is reminding his son about watchfulness, accountability, repercussions, consequences. He's saying that if there were to be a mustard seed under a rock, or anywhere in the heavens and the earth, Allah knows about it. Allah knows about everything. So he's teaching his son to be mindful about his actions, because all of his actions have consequences. There are repercussions for what you do. And also he's teaching him accountability, which is a very important lesson to teach our children. Then he goes on to say, Allah is Latif and Allah is Khabir. He's compassionate and He knows all. So He's compassionate, meaning if you err and if you make a mistake and fault, you can always turn to Allah and Allah will forgive you as well. So He's teaching him about Tahara and Tazkiyah there. Right? And Tahara is Zahiri and it's also a Batini one. One is the physical Tahara, of course, which is also important for Salah, etc. And one is the purity within. Right? To cleanse and purify yourself if you make an error. And it's important to teach children that you can always turn to Allah and seek His forgiveness. It's never the end. It's never the end. We can make mistakes. We will fall. We will slip. But we have to get back up and start walking again. Right? Just like children. I feel like they're go-getters. They start to walk. They slip. They fall. They hurt themselves. They bang their heads. But then they get right back up and they're at it again. So likewise, we can make faults. We can slip. But then we have to get right back up and inshallah go back and start doing what we need to do. Then he goes to teach his son, يَا بُنَيَّ أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. He's teaching his son to establish salah. Before you become a slave to anything, you have to be a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's teaching him that salah is the first thing that you have to do. Today we wake our children up first for what? School. Not salah. Salah is, we think it's okay to do qada of fajr. There's so many people that pray their fajr when they wake up. Whenever their eyes wake up, that's when they pray their fajr. Fajr should be the first thing we do in the day. That's what we should wake up for. Our day should start with Salatul Fajr. And when you start your day with Salatul Fajr, you'll have a lot of barakah in your time. I guarantee you that. Many times we complain about, oh, lack of time, I don't have time to do anything. But if you perform Salatul Fajr, you have a lot of time on your hands. And there's a lot of barakah in that time. It also teaches them punctuality. Right? It's very important to perform your salah on time, regularly. Okay? It teaches them good lessons like that. Timekeeping. It's a good lesson. I remember my father used to say, when I was growing up, that one thing you'll notice is whoever comes late for the salah, they're late in everything in life. And he was right. Because I saw that, and I saw brothers and I grew up with, friends that I grew up with, that were always late for salah, and they were late for class, they were late for everything in life. So, salah is a very important lesson. Allah then says, وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Here he's teaching his son to stand up for what is right. If you see right, then you have to support it. If you see wrong, then you have to point it out. So he's teaching him about social justice as well. Right? And then he teaches him, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Be patient. Patience and endurance. These are lessons that our children lack in a lot of times. Because they're used to this instant gratification, like whatever they want, we give them it straight away. Because we feel guilty sometimes because we're not very good parents, or we don't give our children time, and we're always working. So we feel guilty and we give our children everything they desire. Right? Rather than teaching them hard work and the ethics of hard work and the results of hard work and how working hard will, help them achieve things in life. We don't teach them about endurance. We just give them things instantly. So here Luqman alayhi salam is saying, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. And the last couple of verses in this advice is him teaching his son about respect and humility. This is seriously lacking in this generation today. A lack of adab. I believe that these types of lessons about adab must come from the parents. We have to emphasize adab. Adab for elders. Not to speak up. وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, he tells him. Lower your voice. Don't be obsessed with being heard all the time. Like your voice should be heard. It's okay to have an opinion, but you should know when to express it, when to speak. Not to speak in presence of adults who are way more experienced than you in life, unless you are asked. Okay? Be patient and have humility. These are extremely important lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq inshallah to adopt these and adhere to these. Wa akhiru da'wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow Saturday, we are going to have a community iftar. We are short of funds, still looking for donors. So please contribute whatever you can. $50, $100, $400, whatever you can before leaving today, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khairan.